Good morning, folks. Welcome to another morning episode of the Liberty Dad podcast, a discussion on politics and culture. If you're tuning in live, then I especially want to thank you for tuning in and giving me your time so early. You know, have you thought about getting your passport, bro? A while back, rapper, author, and public speaker Zuby set off a storm on social media. Um, with agreement and debate when he posted, quote, I predict more American men seeking foreign brides in the future. Get your passports, bros, end quote. Maybe you've seen articles like this one. Where do we go here? How the passport bro movement reveals the ugly truth about Western men. Well, as it turns out, I happen to have a friend that I'm bringing in to discuss traveling internationally to find the one. Let's bring in Greg Brady.
Hey, DL, how are you?
Good morning, Greg. How are you? Good evening for you, actually.
Good evening for me. Yes, sir. It's 6 p.m. on Wednesday night.
Yes, it is very early here. Now let's get this kicked off. You said you're technically not a passport bro, so let's kind of set the record straight from the very outset here. Who are you? What are you?
So I'm a retired real estate investor from Jacksonville, Florida. I knew DL before he was Liberty Dad, right? When he was just DL. And I knew of DL before I ever met him through his wife, who's a real estate investor in Jacksonville. So I knew DL's wife before I knew DL. It wasn't until you served on the local real estate association board that we actually met. But I knew Christy for, I don't know, 4 years, 5 years before that. Jacksonville's a pretty large town, but the investor circle in it is pretty tight.
Right.
You go to a Yellowbird event, there's 300 people. I knew all of them, and probably Christy did too.
Yes, she is very much the social butterfly. I know
Yes.
only a fraction of the people that she knows.
Your net worth is directly proportionate to the size of your network, sir. And I'm sure you've heard that more than once.
Right.
So I'm retired. I don't do that anymore. And my original dream, before we get into the passport bro thing real quick, was I was going to retire in Italy.
Okay.
And I was going to buy an old farmhouse that had existing live vines on it. In other words, a working vineyard. And they're for sale. About €1.5 million. You can buy an old, like 1800s farmhouse made of stone and some acreage of olive trees. Olive trees and grapes. Right.
Mhm.
So it's an agricultural thing. And what I was going to do was what they call agrotourism. So you and Christy come out to visit me in Italy, not me, but my place, right? My job. This is my business. You stay in the old farmhouse, which has been renovated to have hot water and all the comforts that you're used to, like an Airbnb. An authentic old farmhouse that has all that charm. The next day, you make your own wine. You make your own case of wine, stamping the grapes in the tub and the whole bit, and then we private label it. Just have a laser printer to DL Christie or whatever you make up a name for your wine, and we put the private label on and we ship the case to your home. So you get home and you have a case of wine you made, in a working vineyard. Then the next day, you have some olive trees. You make extra virgin, first press, cold press olive oil. You get a bottle, you take that home with you. And then the next day you make buffalo mozzarella, right?
Okay.
Agrotourism. That was my focus. That was my goal, dream, everything. Then I met an investor in Jacksonville, Ace Williams, right? I met him, same as Christy. He was part of the circle, the loop.
Right.
And he said, my wife just got her real estate license. I want her to hang it with your brokerage. Because besides being an investor, I was a broker too. No problem. Okay. Stop by the office whenever. And that turned out to be O. Williams, who you also know, because again, it's a very small world. O is from Lempeng, which is about 45 minutes to an hour south of Chiang Mai, where I'm living in Thailand. She grew up here. She lived here for 27 years. And then some little tiny Farang named Ace, Farang is foreigner in Thai, for little Ace Williams, 55 years old. Ace Williams came and snatched her up and took her back to America. They've been married 17 years. They have an 11-year-old daughter. They're coming back. But just as a quick aside, they are moving. back to Thailand. And Ace was actually the primary motivation in that. O is reluctantly kicking and screaming, coming along because she feels it will be best for her daughter to get some exposure to the Thai culture.
Gotcha.
So there is that. So Passport Bros, let's talk about that. So, I'm sorry, really quick. Airbnb came along, and instead of 20 rentals, which is what I figured I needed my portfolio to be to move to Italy and buy them 1.5 million euro, winery. Airbnb came along, and you as you know, you operated one. You net twice as much. You gross 3 times as much, but you have overhead with an Airbnb. You don't have a long-term rental. You pay the electric, you pay the internet,
Right.
Supplies, paper towels, toilet paper, blah blah blah. So the net was twice as much as a long-term rental.
Right.
So with that, I said, cool. I don't need 20 rentals. I can retire after 10 because I'm netting twice as much with these Airbnbs. I got to 7. O started working for me in the office, helping me with paperwork and things to get some cash flow because she was a new agent, and new agents, Christy's a realtor, you know this too. New agents typically struggle in the first 6 months until they build up a book of business and start getting some closes. So, hey, come and work for me in the office. We're mostly investors in my brokerage. You're going to do straight retail real estate. Come and I'll give you $10 an hour and you can just do, clerical stuff for me. Very organized, amazing woman, right? She impressed me from the get-go. So I got interested. And when I was a little kid, when I got interested in, Harry Houdini, I would walk, find a kid, today who will walk to the local library, right? Have my library card, and I would get out every book they had on Harry Houdini, and I sit and read it for the next week. You know what I mean? Whenever something piqued my interest, library, learn everything I can, just absorb it. Well, now it's YouTube, right? So when I met O, and then she's Buddhist, which has a lot to do with like mindset and how you react to things and things like that. I was impressed with her behavior. She's smart. She brought an apple and a banana for lunch. Rob Jones and I were going out having the gate 2 for $2 hot dogs loaded with chili and everything we could put on it, and Mountain Dew, sugar water.
Right.
And, I weighed 300 pounds when I was in America. I'm 250 now. And that's not dieting. That's not exercising. I still live pretty much the same lifestyle, but I lost 50 pounds because it's just healthier here. It's just better food, a little bit of rice, a little bit of noodle, some vegetable, and a little bit of meat, and mostly chicken or pork. They don't have beef that much, or now and then shrimp, when they can afford. We eat it frequently, the farang. So I got interested in Thailand. Now, instead of a library, I got on YouTube and I'm reading every blog I can find. I'm watching every YouTube channel I could find. And I was like, this country looks amazing. I'd never been here. And, a little bit about my past. When I got out of the Navy, I started working for the government as a consultant, whatever. I did a lot of traveling. I filled up 3 passports. I'd never been to Thailand. Just weird. Don't know how, don't know why, just never been here. Came for 3 weeks at the end of 2019, and I didn't want to go back to America. And I have great friends in America, and I miss a lot of them. Once a week, once a month, I'm thinking about somebody over there.
Probably me.
Well, yeah, I did. I gave you a big safety hug at the party. We just saw each other a week ago at a party. It's the first time in 3 years I've been back to America. So whenever anybody asks me, do you miss anything about America? It's the people. It's the people. Today is Mark's birthday. I'm good friends with Mark Marcellus. It's his birthday today. I would love to take him out for a steak, or get him a birthday cake at Publix, whatever, hang out. Like Mark's my buddy. He's been there for me. I've been there for him many, many years. I've known him. And it sucks that I'm going to miss his birthday because I'm, however many thousand kilometers away, from America. Now, I'll tell you what, it was a 38-hour trip going over, and that includes layovers and having to be in the airport early, 21 hours of actual flight time, but 38 hours sitting on my butt. That was not a good time. So, but once again, was it worth it? Yeah, I got to see a lot, not all, because I was only there for 1 week. I didn't get to see all my friends, but I got to see a lot. So I'm happy about that. So became impressed with Thailand because of and her mannerisms and everything. She was 42 or something. She's working my office. She did not look it. Asian women, as you
Mhm.
know,
Right, right,
do not look their age at all. So I was just like, oh my God, I wonder if there's more like her. You know what I mean? And
right.
I investigated, and yes, the women are the average Thai lady is 5'2" and 100 pounds.
Okay.
When I came home, I flew from Chiang Mai to Seoul, Korea to Dallas Fort Worth Airport. Every woman, 100% of the women I saw in the Dallas airport were obese or at minimum overweight. Maybe obese is 30% body fat. Maybe
Right,
I saw some 20% body fat, maybe,
right,
but 100%,
right.
not 50, not 20%. 100% of the women in Dallas in the airport while I was walking there from my flight, 1 hour, 2 hours, were obese. So it hit me because I've been living. My ex-girlfriend, who's Russian, calls it the land of gnomes because tiny people. You're used to seeing little skinny Thai ladies, and you go to Dallas, and everybody's as big as I am, 250 pounds. I'm like, damn! Like it really hit me. It struck
Right.
me. That was something that stood out because I just not used to seeing it, and the prices stuck out too,
Mhm.
and. So I wound up moving here 3 years ago. I've been here 3 years. I love it. Why I'm not a passport bro. You talked about me coming on and talking about this, and I did a little research like you. You looked at some like what is a passport bro,
Right.
and everybody calls me one because I'm an American who moved to Thailand, but it's not fair. Let's not lump everybody together. What I am is an expat, an expatriate. They've
Mhm.
been around since the Vietnam War. When
Right.
America put some Air Force bases here in the 60s, GIs started coming here, Marines, Navy guys on R&R. They'd either go to Hong Kong or
Mhm.
they'd come to Bangkok, which is the capital of Thailand. And around them, this entire industry sprung up, where there's beautiful girls in bars, hey, buy me a drink and all that, right?
Right.
So when I said I was moving to Thailand back at the end of 2019, when I came back from my 3-week trip here, everybody's like, sex workers, sex workers. Okay, Thailand has a population of 70 million people.
Mhm.
Registered sex workers, are there more than that registered with the government? Of course there are, but registered sex workers, 300,000. That's
Oh, wow.
0.006%. Yeah,
Right.
like half a percent. But first thing everybody says, sex. No, you've got Chiang Mai, which has one block of beer bars or whatever you want to call it.
Right.
You got Phuket, which has several blocks of it. That's probably when people think of the sex trade, Pattaya and Phuket, that they have multiple blocks of beer bars and multiple women. On Pattaya, the main drag down the beach is there's freelancers out there, ladies who are not associated with a bar or a madam or whatever. So it's there. It's absolutely there. If you want it, come here and you can get it. Bangkok, which is the capital, it's like New York City, right? If you've never been to Bangkok, just like New York City, big, crowded, too much traffic, pollution. They have one block. I have a YouTube channel, Great White Buddha, that I did
Right.
so my friends could keep up with what I'm doing here. I got 300 subscribers. I'm not, I'm not trying on G strings, thank God. So
Right. Right.
I don't have 1 million subscribers. It's not monetized. It's literally my friends from back home who want to keep up with me. And I
Right.
did a video. I walked down Soy Cowboy. It's called Soy Street in Thailand.
Mhm.
And I walked down Soy Cowboy in the red light district. It's one block. Bangkok, imagine New York City only has prostitutes on one street,
Right.
it's like, yeah. So it's much ado about nothing, except for, like I said, Pattaya, where it's a big part of that town.
Right.
Um, Same thing. The other thing I heard, ladyboy. Oh yeah, ladyboy. Oh, you gotta find you a ladyboy. Be careful of the ladyboys. So I researched it out when I got here because you hardly ever see a ladyboy in Chiang Mai. And when you do, they're like in the store checking you out at the register, like Publix. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
they're
Checking you
not
out, you
doing.
mean like as an employee, not like
Yeah.
checking you out.
No. Yes. Nice.
Right.
Zing. Got to stay sharp with DL. He's on his game.
I've got
Yes.
my
No.
coffee going, so I'm
Yeah, as
ready.
a cashier, just working there. I mean, and that's the thing with the whole trans movement, and we're not going to talk about that tonight, but it's I did some research. same as the sex workers, 300,000. They estimate that there's 300,000
Right.
men who identify as women here. And nobody, it's not a big deal. Nobody's oppressing them. Nobody's attacking them. They're just accepted in society. They're like anybody else. They get treated the same. So it's interesting to see how the trans issue in the US is playing out compared to how it plays out here. Yet the first thing everybody said when I moved to Thailand was ladyboy. It's kind of silly. 70 million people, 300,000 ladyboys, they estimate, right? It's like, and for just not for nothing, the whole 47 genders thing, the Thai people have an ID card, national ID card that allows them the like free healthcare. That's the thing in Thailand, right? When you're born, they put the M on there for male and they put the F on there for female. That stays. No matter what surgeries you might have or what you identify as or what color your hair is this week, you're still whatever it says on your card as far as the government is concerned. How you want to dress, how you want to live, they don't care. Neither does anybody else. But you still have that M. You can't change that M on your ID card. You were born a male, you're a male as far as the government's concerned.
Right.
Makes sense?
Right. Yeah.
So,
To take a slight detour, I think that's kind of
mhm.
interesting because part of the argument here in the US is that without all of the recognition, without being able to change my government documents, without having people say my pronouns, without having like I can't be accepted. But yet here you are telling me that actually in Thailand they do adhere to this binary biological system, and simultaneously people are accepted and are able to live freely without worry of being attacked and all this other stuff. So I think it's kind of interesting.
100%. Yep, 100%. That's absolutely. Once again, I've been here 3 years, not 30, but that's been my personal experience,
Right.
especially in Chiang Mai. I'm up in the north, 9 hours north of Bangkok, and it's definitely more touristy, quiet. It's relaxed, cheaper here. Et cetera, et cetera. There's a lot of reasons I picked Chiang Mai as my base. It's not as crowded as Bangkok. It's not New York City. Chiang Mai is like Chicago. And if you had a choice, you had to live in Chicago or New York, you'd probably pick Chicago, even though the crime rate has gone up drastically in the last like 5 years. Ever since they got the Beetlejuice lady as a mayor, it's just gone crazy. So, but back, I'm 60. So when I say Chicago, I mean Chicago 20 years ago and New York 20 years ago. And I would rather pick Chicago. I picked Chiang Mai. So Passport Bro, I did some research. It's amazing. You talked about a rapper in your intro, and that's interesting because I was like, where did this thing come from? Right. Like I know people think of me as a passport bro. I've been aware of that term in the last year or so. But I was like, where did it come from? There was a African-American man who did a documentary. Let me see if I found it. I actually wrote it down. So the first passport bros were largely African American men, and their first choice, probably because it's closer and easier to learn the language, the second language. Although I don't speak Thai, lived here 3 years, don't speak Thai, no problem whatsoever. The first passport bros saw this movie, and I'm looking for the guy's name. I'll find it. Who did this movie and the name of the movie? And A. Greeze, Greeze. So like breeze, but with a G.
Okay.
He made a 2011 film called Frustrated.
Okay.
And that the people who saw that were mostly African American, and the country that they went to was Brazil, not Thailand, not the Philippine Islands, which is once again what everybody thinks of Southeast Asia with the Passport Bros movement. Brazil, and then after that it was Colombia, and after that it was the Dominican Republic, DR. Now it's all those still plus the Philippine Islands and Thailand, or the country I picked. So the Passport Bros, according to a guy who's on TikTok and has 470 million views.
Okay.
And he's not wearing a G-string either. He's like you and me. He's just talking, but he kind of represents the lifestyle. He's, obviously the most popular TikTok channel with 470 million views. And it's called hashtag Passport Bros. and this guy Austin, I think his name is, he's sort of like the poster boy. What they're doing and kind of promoting is fly to these other countries, have sex with hot girls, and go back to America. So when I
Right.
say I'm not a passport bro, that's what I meant. I moved to Thailand because I fell in love with the culture.
Hmm.
And are there lots of amazing hot women here? Absolutely. But that is not my primary reason to come here. It was cheaper than Italy, so I could retire now in
Right.
56, 4 years ago, instead of waiting, until I had the 10 Airbnbs. That was number one. I could retire now. I wanted to retire now. And the culture is just amazing. They call it the land of smiles. And that's
Right.
because everybody freaking smiles here. The first day I was here, I was in a store getting something, supermarket, and a Thai lady comes by in front of me. She bent down like this and scooched down in front of me. When they worship Buddha, the rule is your head has to be lower than Buddha's feet. So bowing is a sign of respect. And
Mhm.
Farang are seen as a higher social status here. We didn't come here and demand bow before us, you peon. That's
Right.
their culture.
Right.
I was shocked and, be honest with you, dismayed. I'm not comfortable with people bowing in front of me. But then, everyone who walked in front of me did it. Younger women, young men, older men.
Hmm. Interesting.
Yeah, I was like, don't do that. I put my pants on one leg at a time, just like you. Nobody
Right.
had to bow before me. I'm not all that, right?
Right.
But that's their culture. And it was 95 degrees here, and I was out driving in my car with
Just
the
like Florida.
aircon left. Yeah, just like I did in Florida. Nothing changed. I went from my air conditioned house to my air conditioned car to my air conditioned office in Florida.
Right.
I do the same here, except I don't have an office. This is my office. It's in my house.
Right.
Um, and I saw the Thai people on scooters, 110 c scooters. You're a
Mhm.
scooter guy. I know you're into that.
Right.
They're
Mine's a bit bigger,
everywhere.
folks. Just to throw that out there,
Yeah,
okay? Got a big one.
that's the
That
station
didn't
wagon.
sound weird at all.
This scooter is the family station wagon. I've seen dad, mom, three kids on a scooter, a
Yep.
Honda Scoopy, 110 cc, tiny little bike.
When
My
I saw
girlfriend,
some amazing things on scooters when I went to
oh
Indonesia,
yeah,
which is
yeah,
also a
same,
place where they're heavily, they you see a lot of scooter like, I joke and I say it feels like there's, 100 scooters for every, like, 1 car on the
yes,
road. Like, there's just
yes,
scooters everywhere, and people will use them to transport, like, their own selves, but also whole families, and I've even seen, like, huge, like, people stack up stuff that they're trying to
yes,
carry,
yes,
whatever it may be, and they're driving down the road like, piled high,
all the time,
like way
every day.
higher than them. And it's pretty wild to see
Yeah.
the things that
Big long
they
poles
put on
that
there.
go out, 3 feet either side of them. They're driving with a pole strapped to their back seat. I mean,
Right,
unbelievable the things you see here. And see, that's why I came. I didn't come to bang hot chicks. I came because I think that's cool.
right,
They got all that stuff stacked up,
right.
and you're not going to
So
see a family of five on a 110 cc scooter in America.
right.
It's like, I'm driving this way down the road. They drive on the other side of the road here. So if
Well,
you're
let
ever
me
traveling, sorry.
I was gonna interject here and
Mhm.
kinda go back to the definition because it seems that there are, like, multiple perceptions about what a
Yes.
passport bro might
Right.
actually be. So,
Right.
for instance, you pointed out, you said, "Hey, like, look, there's this person here on TikTok, he's very, very popular, and his idea
Yeah.
of a passport bro is like, look, you get your passport, you fly out, and you find you a hot girl, and then you do your thing, and then you come back home and you're all done, right?
Right.
And then but there's another perception here, and I wanted to get your take on it because
Sure.
I think this is the take that I understood it to be. So let me pull this up on the screen. This is actually that article that I mentioned at the outset of the show.
Oh yeah,
It
there's some haters. I saw that too when I was
All right.
researching. Yeah.
So this woman here writes, the title is "How the Passport Bros Movement Reveals the Ugly Truth About Western Men, Their Pursuit
Right.
of Traditional Women in Impoverished Countries. Could it be more telling?" So if we get down here, I'll get to you. Let's see here. Okay, if you haven't come across this term yet, lucky you, it refers to a breed of men from the US and UK who roam countries in South America, Southeast Asia, Eastern Europe in search of, quote, traditional women. It's essentially a reverse mail order bride industry.
The,
And
the key
just
the key word there, DL, is roam. They
right,
roam those countries. I'm living here. I
Right.
lived here for 3 years. I'm going to live here till I die. But yes, keep going.
And then I'm not going to read the whole article, by the way, but this particular part where it says, and just as it's the case with men who reach for online catalogs in hopes of finding a wife, the main reason why passport bros want to pursue foreign women is they're fed up with the ideals and lifestyles of Western ones. So, what is your take on this notion? Because that's kind of what Zuby was. If we pull his comment up. That's kind of what Zuby was talking about. So you can see at the
Right.
very bottom here where he says, I predict more American men seeking foreign brides in the future. Get your passports, bros. And
Right.
effectively, he is showing two graphs which show that by 12th grade, young girls are more liberal, and by 12th grade, young boys are more conservative. And then, of course, you've got Hannah Cox here, who's saying that men are going to be in for a rude awakening when they go to other cultures, and that it's an inability to find somebody in your own country. So she's kind of dogging on this idea.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
what's your take on the idea? Like, were you looking for more traditional woman? Was there any kind of concern with you about like, look, I'm kind of fed up with the Western woman. Let me go find a woman who's more traditional from a different country. Like, where are you with that?
Good question. Great question. And once again, I'm different from a passport bro in that women were not the reason I came here.
Okay.
And I dated many, what not bragging, I'm just saying I was very active socially in America the 56 years I lived there. I was married for 10 years. I dated another woman 5 months, 5 years, dated another woman 6 months, another woman 9 months. And in between, yes. I mean, when I was young, when I was in the Navy, I was counting bullets like every other guy, notching the belt, right? That
Right.
was the thing to do when you're 21, 22, whatever. Um, so I had a buddy here, Sean, who had two partners, two women,
Hmm.
his for 46 years living in Wisconsin. He was 300 pounds and he was bald and he traveled a lot for work. So his
Hmm.
whole life, he had two girlfriends, two.
Okay.
Uh, uh, yeah. So he gets
Right.
here, and oh my God, his condo was near the bus station. And it was a good thing because it was a frigging revolving door, and he slept with over 150 Thai ladies and other countries too, 150 women in a year
Right.
because he had two partners in America. So, yes, he absolutely came here because he was successful with the
Mhm.
women here. He lost weight too. Everybody loses weight here. It's just a thing.
I better not agree
But
with
he was successful with the women here. He was not successful with women in America. Without breaking my arm, patting myself on the back, I had steady girlfriend. As I said, I was married for 10 years, long-term girlfriends. I could maintain a relationship. I was making good money. I got a sense of humor. I got some game. I was fine. I did not need to come to Thailand to get a date.
you.
I
Okay.
promise you
Right.
that. But feminism, okay. I researched this thing out. As I said, Passports Pro. I got curious about it, and we're going to talk about it. So it's been likened to a movement, interestingly enough, like the
Mhm.
hippies in the 60s, right?
Right.
Like the hippie counterculture, right?
Right.
And the movement that has been predominant in America for the last 20 years is feminism. Now, feminism, bad feminism. And what do I mean by that? Oh, you're a misogynist. You're okay. Before your audience goes nuts and starts calling me MAGA or whatever,
I don't think they
let me
will.
explain bad feminism.
Sure.
So, Megan Rapinoe, right?
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah,
U.S.
the soccer
soccer,
player.
right? She's been fighting since they won for equal pay that the men get, right?
Mhm.
It's all over. She's very famous
Right.
for that. We want equal pay. We want equal. She's screaming. I can't be happy about this victory because we don't have equal pay. Okay, Megan, we hear you. Okay, so the payouts come from FIFA. When you're in the World Cup, the Women's
Mhm.
World Cup, the Men's World Cup, that's directed by an organization called FIFA. I don't know if you're into soccer. I'm not,
I'm
but
familiar
I've
enough.
heard of FIFA. Right. So they do the payout, not the USWNT, which is who they're campaigning at that they need more money. The women get an estimated $150 million. Their tournament generates $150 million of revenue, and that primarily comes from commercials that
Mhm.
are being sold to play during the game. That's it.
Right.
NFL works the same way. Well, the men get 440 million of revenue, not because they're men, but because advertisers are willing to pay more to because there's more eyeballs on the men's team.
Right.
Even though the men's team haven't been as successful as the women's, in years past, more tuned in to watch that. So it's
Right.
just so when the men are generating three times the revenue, right? But you're getting the women 20% of the revenue and the men are getting 7%. Yeah, equal pay. Give the men 20% of the
Right. Right.
440 million,
Right.
right?
Right.
So they actually passed a law. They settled out of court. They sued them and they passed a law that the women now are going to split with the men. So they lost. I say they got kicked out. They lost early and didn't go as far as everybody thought they would. It doesn't matter because they're going to split the money that the men get for being in the tournament. So they can lose and still make more than the winning women's team. Now, that's bad feminism. That's
Right.
not equal pay. You're taking some of the men's, they're generating 440 million, you're generating 150. So it's
Right.
not equal. It's unequal pay and it's bullshit. And that's bad feminism, right? So that's
Mhm.
one reason for people in droves. I have my reasons, all the other guys have their reasons.
Right.
And let me run another thing by you real quick. When I came here in 2019, I'm like, I wonder how many Gregs there are in Thailand. 70 million people, we talked about before, 500,000 expats in 2019. Well, I'm getting ready to talk to you about Passport Bros. I wonder how many are now, 600, 2 million, 2
Wow.
million expat living in Thailand.
We went
So
from
gone up
500,000 to 2
four
million.
times in the last 3 years. I've been here since 2020, right? I
Right.
looked in 2019 when I first came here. So that's one reason. Unfair divorce laws. We've all heard of men getting divorced and women
Right.
getting half of everything they have. But did they produce half the income? Of course not. Did they make the more? I was married for 10 years. My wife made $10 an hour as a medical assistant, and I was making, as a business broker, selling business opportunities. So, I sold a gas station up on McDuff for 1.4 million, and I had both sides of the deal. Commercial is 10% instead of 6. It's $140,000. But
Right.
when we got divorced, she gets half, right?
Right.
Right. That's fair. That's equitable. That's equal. So unfair divorce laws. Women with career focus. Now, this is one where you and I will say we love a woman who has a
Right.
career. We
Right.
support them 100%. But from this
I have no
perspective,
choice.
yeah, exactly.
But I
for
do
the
love it.
viewers at home, Mrs. DL wears the pants in the family.
Right.
But
But I do love it, folks. Just to be
yes,
clear, I'm making a joke.
yeah, yes, you are.
I want
You
anybody to
love
get
your
offended.
wife and you
Like,
love her
"Oh, Liberty
independence.
Dad
You
doesn't
love
really like it." Like, no, no,
no, you love that she's a strong woman. My girlfriend here in Thailand worked for the
Mhm.
first 2 years we dated. I finally got her to quit. That's how
Mhm.
much of a persuader I am. I finally got her to quit her job about 2 months ago, 3 months ago. Now we're traveling more, which is great. But she worked for the first 2 weeks we were dating. Her choice.
Right.
So, and my best bosses when I was in IT for 13 years were women. I'll say
Right.
that straight out. And they were making equal pay because they were doing equal job with equal revenue. But anyway, but understand that that takes them out of the pool. If a woman is a career woman, right, and she's focused on her career, oftentimes that will exclude, date. She doesn't need a man, put it that way. And
Right.
hey, more power to her. You
Right.
go, girl. I'm
Well,
100% behind the boss babe movement. You do
I
you.
mean,
Be true
kind
to
of.
yourself.
Yeah,
Right.
I'm kind of with it. So here's my position. So like my wife works. She's a real estate agent and investor, and and I like to joke that she works from 9 to 9. Like she wake up in the morning and she's like looking at her phone,
Right.
and she is looking at what's going on with whatever deal that she's working on, and then she continues to work sometimes until 9. And sometimes there's been times where like 1 o'clock in the morning
Right.
she rolls into bed because that's what she's been working very very hard. Now I think the difference in attitude between my wife and like this bad feminism ideology that says like women don't need a man is she doesn't look at it like I have my money, I don't need a man. She looks at
Right.
it like I'm pursuing this particular goal and I am married and I have somebody that is by my side and is basically a cheerleader when I need it. I jump in when I help. So I am part of that goal, not distinct from it, right? Like it's not like I don't she doesn't look at it like, "Hey, if you don't do these things that I like, I'll just get rid of you." right?
Right.
Like that's
Which is
not
why you're married to her. She's a
right,
cool lady. She's a
right.
smart lady, and she's managed to find a work-life balance, which a lot of men
Well,
can't
most
find a work-life balance.
sometimes.
Right, right,
But
exactly.
and this is what I try to tell people. I'm like, because like a lot of I've had people say like, "Well, you're afraid of a strong woman," and I'm like, "Okay, right," because
Right,
my mom was extremely strong woman, right? Like I learned everything that I knew when I was like by the time I was like 18, 20, 25. I learned everything I knew about working with tools from my mom. No discredit to my dad, just that was my mom's interest. She pursued a lot of things, and she didn't do it again under the feminism guise of I must be equal to men. She just was like, I'm interested in this, therefore I'm going to pursue it. And my wife Christy is very much the same way. She's like, I find this interesting. I want to pursue it, so therefore I will. There isn't really this attitude of I'm a woman, I've got to be equal, and I got to
right,
show them
right,
that I'm equal,
right.
and I'll discard a man. So I think there's a I think that's the big difference and why it works out and why she can be strong and sometimes even bullheaded, just like me. And but again, it's not a problem
Right.
because
Going
it just
back to the
becomes that
trans
negative
thing,
attitude about men.
going back to the trans thing real quick.
Yeah.
Christy is being herself. She's not being a
Right.
feminist. She's being herself. Your
Right.
mom was herself, not being a
Right.
feminist. She like you said, it's the intent behind it.
Right.
So that to me, that's it. Just be yourself. And if yourself is a boss, babe, I'm 1,000% behind you,
Right.
and I know you are too. So, but
Absolutely.
to understand that with that work-life balance, a lot of men have trouble finding a woman to marry because they're working all the time, workaholics, and a lot of women too because of
Right.
that dynamic. They're driven by their careers and ambition. They don't have so much time for their personal life. What that is they're out of balance, and lots of people on this planet are out of balance. They
Right.
can't balance spiritual, physical, health,
Mhm.
work, and relationships, be it their family or friends. They're out of balance, and some women now have careers and are out of balance, just like years men have been out of balance with their careers. So
Right.
they've joined that pool, and that's another reason men are going overseas because some of the women they'd want to date don't have time for dating because they're building a career. They're partners in a law firm, junior, and doing billable hours, and you know what I mean. They don't
Right.
have time to date, so they're out of the pool. Unfair divorce we mentioned, the bad feminist, what we talked about, Megan. Okay, online dating. If it's Tinder, right? You swipe, you look at a face, and you go, "Oh no, you don't know the person, you don't know their values,
Right.
you don't know
Yes.
if you have anything in common. You're just like, bing, 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 No wonder it's shit. The system is flawed. In my opinion, Tinder is not a good way to date. You got to know something about their personality, right? But
Right. Well,
they don't.
I had a similar conversation with a different friend of mine. Now, I've never been on Tinder, and the last time I was on a dating app, like it was still kind of novel to find somebody online, right? Like this was like
Right,
over 10 years ago, and I didn't
right,
particularly have a great experience personally. But what I've been, so I can't really speak from personal experience, but I have done a lot of observation of, and you can kind of listening to other people's stories. And one of the things that strikes me as problematic is you can take up your phone and you can literally just swipe and you keep swiping and you can swipe for the tiniest minuscule reason
yes,
whatsoever and
right.
discard somebody that you might have otherwise found to be very interesting.
100%. That could
Uh,
have been your soulmate. You could have been
right.
married to that woman for 50 years and you
Because
just swipe by. Sean, the sex addict I told you about, would spend 5 hours a day on Tinder. 5 hours. He
that's
couldn't
crazy.
stay off his phone. He'd wake up, he'd start swiping, to get his
Wow,
150
that's
women.
intense.
Yeah. Yeah, he's an addict. He's a Tinder addict. He's a swipe addict. He's a sex addict. He's a all kinds of. He was an alcoholic until his mom needed a kidney, and he is a decent guy, so he gave his mom a kidney that stopped him from drinking. Otherwise, he would have been an alcoholic and probably died of alcohol poisoning. Everything
Wow.
he does 1,000%, no restraint. OnlyFans. I'm sure you don't know anything about it because
I'm
busy
familiar with it,
making
but
stuff and working, right? But
I've
OnlyFans
never
is a big.
been to it and I definitely don't
Right.
have
Me
one.
either. I
So,
honestly have never been to it because why would I pay for that when I have girlfriend, right? But
right.
some guys do a lot of money. Now, if you watch some of these man shows now, it's a big thing, right? There's guys who are fighting this feminine, and there's at least one lady fighting it, Pearl. I've seen a couple of hers. I'm
Oh,
swiping all the time.
Lord.
Not
Please,
Tinder, but
no.
I'm swiping U-turn. Yeah,
Girl.
no, she's a traditional
Oh,
woman. She's
goodness.
fighting the
She's a
feminists. Hey,
lunatic.
well, yeah,
From what
right.
I've seen, she's a
But the
lunatic.
feminists aren't, right? And
Oh,
there's guys who have ladies on and they're ex OnlyFan girls or
right.
they're Insta hoes, right? You've heard that where they're on
I've not heard
Instagram
that term,
taking
actually.
selfies every 5 seconds, right? Now,
Interesting.
these women, when these podcasters ask them, what are you looking for? Oh, I want a high value man. When you and I
Oh,
were
yes.
dating, there's no such thing as a high value man. And then the guy immediately comes back because they're all young, they're all in their 20s, and they go, what's your body count? That wasn't around when you and I were dating either.
Right,
You
right.
never asked Christy what her body count was.
Right.
Right,
Like,
but that,
it's very interesting. Hey, you got a fan. It looks like D Dockery says, "Hey, Greg Brady."
hey, what's up,
So,
D? Sorry I
um,
didn't get to see you, D.
but
That's another person I missed. I saw
it's
20
interesting.
people. I missed 200.
Right. I've got a friend, he is dating and he's actually about my size and he finds it frustrating. And there's actually this thing called 666, which is a weird, but it's apparently there are women out there that are looking for a man who's 6 foot tall, makes six figures, and
Yes, yeah,
has 6 inches down
yeah.
in his drawers. So we don't need to discuss the last six, but
No,
I think it's interesting that there's this, like this goes back to that Tinder thing, like, oh, he's got to be 6 foot tall. And
right,
then women, some of the same women will get upset when a man's like, okay, well, how much do you weigh? Right? What's
right.
your body count? And what I try to tell people, I'm like, look, when you're out dating and you start putting all these limitations, and you say he's got to be 6 foot tall, he's got to be this, he's got to be this. And I'm like, those limitations don't come for free. You have to deliver so not only what are you bringing to the table, but more
Huge.
importantly,
That's
those
number one.
people,
Yeah,
that's when you slice out the pie and you say,
right,
"These are the men that I'm looking for." What are they in turn looking for? Because it's basically they know what they got, right? They
right.
know they're 6 foot. They know they're making six figures. So they're going to have their own demands too, and you may
Yeah.
not like them, right? And this is why I think that Tinder is not necessarily the best. I mean, I don't want to trash. I know there are probably people that have found true love, honest, good love
Good for
from
them. I'm
from
happy
apps.
for them, but
But I
no,
think
it's
you
to
have to be
me, it's too
careful.
superficial. It's
Yeah,
too
I think you got to
superficial.
be very, very careful. And
Yeah.
like if I were on the dating scene, I would probably not even bother. I would just go old fashioned, like, look, if I can't meet you in person and have a conversation, then it's probably not worth my time pursuing. That's probably how I'd approach it.
I got a quick question for you. Have
I'll
you
tell you,
ever argued with Christy or any girl that you dated before her about the toilet seat being left up after you went number
man.
one?
Um, well, probably yes. I'm trying to, like in recent times, I don't
No,
argue with
but
Christy
in the
about that.
past, or friends, you've
Maybe
had friends who the wife go ballistic because they left the seat up, right?
Not ballistic. I think,
No,
maybe annoyed, maybe. I mean, there's
yes,
never been a source of huge drama, but there might
right,
have been, some small, tiny little arguments,
right.
probably more on the
Like,
line of which one's proper, not like I'm angry at you for doing this, but more like which is the right way, you
but
know?
would you agree it's a thing in America?
Yeah,
Because
yeah, totally.
yeah, I had friends who their wives would go ballistic if
Right.
anybody left the toilet seat up. One girl had had a couple of drinks at a party and went and sat down without paying attention. She's so used to her boyfriend putting the seat down, she went ass into the water and came out pissed off, screaming, "Who left the seat up?"
Yeah.
So,
I could see why she'd be upset though.
yeah, well, but don't be
She's
so
all in the
drunk that
toilet.
you don't know. But anyway, quick story about Thailand. A friend of my girlfriend's came over from work. They're having a party. They're having this mugata, this grilled meat thing, like Chinese hot pot. That's very
Right.
popular here. And she went to use the toilet. And I had been in there last and I left the seat up. She put the seat down, took care of business, put the seat back up, and went
Huh.
back into the kitchen. Never happened in America. Never. So when you read that quote to me about the feminism and the women, the Western women, that is a key part of this movement is women in Thailand and Indonesia treat men differently than American women treat their men. And that was, she's an older girl. She was in her 30s, right? So you say, oh, more traditional lady, whatever. I was selling, I bought a bunch of motorcycles over here to sell and then
Mhm.
rented them out. Now I'm back to selling them in cars and stuff. A young guy from England, tattoos on his neck and stuff. He's partnered up with another guy. They have a 80-bed hostel, and he
Mhm.
figures I need to have some scooters to rent to the people who stay in the hostel. Good idea. So he was buying 3 bikes from me, and he brought it this gorgeous Thai girl, 24 years old, va 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 boom, killer body, super sweet, pretty face. She went to the bathroom. She did the same thing. She took an up seat, put it down, put it out. 24-year-old young Thai girl, right? So she's not traditional value. She's not conservative. Same thing. 2 ladies came into my house and put the seat up the way it had been when they got there. I
Right.
did, once again, like Dallas Fort Worth, where I saw nothing but big women. It like, what, that you put the seat back up? Like,
Right.
I mean, like the bowing. I didn't ask them to do that. I don't want them to do that. I don't need you and I. Every time we've walked into a toilet that we share with women, if the seat's down, we put it up. We don't.
Right.
Hey, can you leave it up for me? Or it's better for me.
Right.
More room to aim. No, we just put it up. It's very simple. It's not a big deal. Well,
Right.
here they go to the next level and put it back the way they found it, which I mean, are you surprised by that? Blown away by that? I
Not,
was.
not really. I know that, in like things are very different when I went to Indonesia, things are extremely different there.
Right,
So I learned to just not be surprised by the
right.
differences because it's so different. Um, and I've personally found that, Christy's been here for like 20 years.
So
Actually,
she's more
maybe even a little bit longer.
Americanized than
Right.
her
Right.
family or
She was
sisters, anybody
adopted
back in.
she has
Right,
adopted some of the American culture, but the core, I think, and her core, in my opinion, really reflects this this idea about family, right? So for her, it's not like, oh, men, this. It's more like, this is how I operate with family. This is how I, grew up learning that you operate with family. Now I will say my first wife, who was she was born in the US, but her mom was born and raised in Korea, and that's where her dad
right,
met her mom. She actually had, at least early on in our marriage, she had some of the early ideas that were definitely, technically, strictly speaking, foreign to,
right,
US men, even though she was actually a US citizen her whole entire life. She was born and raised in the United States. But like, I remember she would say, like, she asked me after we got married, she was like, in the morning, would you like me to wash your feet? And I was like, what? And I was
right,
like,
right.
no. I was like,
Just
no,
showed she cared about you. It's just
like,
showing
right.
love. It's a
And,
different
and
way
it,
to show love, but
Right,
it's a
and
way to
then
show love.
there was a time where, we were a young couple, so we basically scraped together things that we had in the house, right? So we had a smattering of different, like, plates and silverware and stuff. We didn't have, like, a really nice matching set necessarily, and, we had one particular plate that was, like, plastic, and all the rest of them were, your regular ceramic, right? So, I don't remember how it came about, but one day she realized that I didn't notice a thing, and she said, "Have you never noticed that I never serve you on the plastic plate?" And I was like, "No," because we only
Yeah,
had, like, 1 out of, like, 10.
right,
So, the chances of me getting it were pretty low anyway. So,
right.
but I was like, "No, I didn't notice that it was, intentional." And according to
Random
her,
acts of kindness. She
it was
performed random acts of
right.
kindness toward.
But apparently it was inappropriate, like, her mom raised her like, "You don't
Yeah,
serve your husband on, on anything other than glass," or something like, or ceramic or whatever, you know?
right.
Uh,
You
I
give it.
I've heard of some of these things, so I know that they do exist, but
Right.
that's not how, my experience is with Christy. It's just more like, "Hey, we're a family unit, and we are together as a family, and the things that we do benefit the family as a whole." It's very communist. No, I'm just kidding. But
Yeah.
but
No,
but
family.
it's very
It's
family
family
oriented,
oriented, and that's a
right,
big point. Thailand is family oriented. When you date a Thai girl or marry a Thai girl, you're dating her family, you're
right,
marrying her family. Family is a core concept here, and it's not so much in the
right,
US. When I was doing research, I went to the Urban Dictionary of all places and
right,
looked at passport bros. Just once again, just this is how I learn about stuff now. This one kind of struck home with me. um, Men in the West who understand that the West, particularly in the US, is a sinking ship,
Mhm.
both financially and culturally. Therefore, choose to live in countries where their money goes further,
Mhm.
check, and they're treated with more respect. Check, 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 check.
Mhm.
The toilet seat is respect to me, right?
Right.
Particularly by women. Passport bros understand that their lives would be better in places like Southeast Asia, Eastern Europe. I haven't really heard that one, but whatever. Because strong family values are still seen as the norm in places like that.
Right.
Hookup culture isn't as rampant in those parts of the world, and thus the population, especially the women, are far less damaged.
Right.
They create better and stronger family units. Passport bros tend to get bullied by Western women. Once again, that wasn't my experience, but
Right.
Sean, you can only get two partners the whole time here, who ironically prove why these passport bros exist in the first place. For some reason, black men are the primary target of that bullying. Once again, that goes back, I think, to the beginnings. Now it's a mix of everybody.
Right.
Um, Though men of all races, there you go, especially men with money to do so, are leaving the West for a better life abroad. Perhaps the bullying comes from the fact that it's the men with money, that men that these women want the most, that are the ones leaving.
Right.
So getting back to the high value man, the host said exactly what you said. What are you bringing to the team? He was like a man, and he
Right.
said to these ladies who made a living getting naked and or having sex on camera for money, what, like, why would this high value guy, your 666 guy, want to be with a woman who was having sex with strangers for money?
Right.
Like, why? What do you bring to the table? And and the body count. And what's your body count? Oh,
Right.
150.
Right.
150. When I was growing up, men were studs and the notches on the belt. I didn't know anybody who had 150 partners. Now, Sean in Thailand, but in America, do you know anybody, any men who had 150 women when they were
Right.
20, 25? And the women are like, yeah, my body counts 150. What? Well, and
Right.
you want a 666 man?
Right.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. What about expectations? And
Right.
then the other thing, I know we're running out of time here, is a hit piece, kind of like that first one you were looking at.
Right.
And she mentioned specifically um, one of the hosts, who's a Manta, and he got arrested recently in Romania where he lives. Tate, Andrew
Oh,
Tate.
so I have a
He,
saying about him. Tate is trash. That
oh,
summarizes it.
okay.
That
Well, but
summarizes
he
my
didn't
opinion.
deserve to go to prison for
Well, that's a
telling a
different story.
female friend
That's a
that
different story.
Tuesday afternoon was the best time to post a TikTok video.
The legal matter I stay out of because I don't know all the details. So I don't know if he's innocent or guilty. And I do believe in him innocent until proven guilty. However, from
Right.
some of his own podcast, from some of his own appearances on podcast, I have seen some very, very trashy things that could be very legal. And so I don't particularly care for him.
Well, according to this woman, he is responsible for the Passport Bros movement, even though we talked about a movie made in 2011, right?
Right.
Literal incels. Now, I have a pretty good vocabulary. I'd never heard the
Right.
term incel before, but this was her term, and it means involuntarily celibate. My
Right.
buddy Sean, who could only get two partners, right? Because he's bald and 300 pounds, so he would be called an incel by this woman, who have fallen into the trance of a certain British Romanian trafficker.
Hmm.
He told a girl, literally, watch his interview with Tucker Carlson. He told a female friend the best time to post her TikTok video. That was trafficking.
Oh,
He did 90 days in jail and he's been released. He's free again.
so we'll hold any opinion on the legalities of what.
Okay, yeah, but the fact
But
that she
there
was
are definitely
saying
videos where I think you would
that
even agree. You would say that's trash.
all the passport bros are
Mhm.
are under a trance from him. I
I
only
think
saw
that's
him
true.
on Tucker interview. I never watched his channel,
Oh
so
yeah, he's got
I
some.
can't verify your trash claim. I thought he came off as an educated man on
Yes,
Tucker.
yes, he did. He did come across as much more respectable on Tucker than I've
Right,
seen from his own lips in other
right.
clips from other
Yeah,
videos.
well, once again, I haven't watched his channel,
Yeah.
so but he apparently, to this woman, he's responsible. They still seek traditional relationship values. Those
Mhm.
values being that women are to remain submissive and stupid. Really,
Yeah, that's crazy.
while the big strong men can have their way with whatever they want. Okay, you see the slant here? You feeling the vibe,
Right.
the heat? These particular men are sad that they don't get any play outside of the women they claim to be hoes, since everyone else despises those who act the way they do and reject any form of romantic connection with them. What a shame. Passport bros are an embarrassment to both Western and Eastern society. Everyone other than their equally as intellectually challenged friends see them for what they are, losers who think they deserve servitude from women. But since they can't find that over here, they of course resort to preying on young women in foreign countries, most prominently Eastern Asian ones. How surprising. Then taking advantage of their lower positions and masking it as seeking to bask in new cultures, societal values, and ahem, women. It's certainly what makes Passport Bros who they are. Leave the country. We don't want you here anyway. Laugh out loud.
Right.
I mean,
So let's
we're out of time, or I could spend an hour tearing that lady a new
right,
a
right.
hole.
I think we can summarize that, right? Like
Yeah.
the reality is that yes, there are some men that go out there and they're just looking for sex.
Yes.
And
Yes.
there are some men that are probably looking for a more submissive woman. I'm not particularly interested in promoting either one of those two, but there are
Sure.
many men who are simply frustrated earnestly with
Yeah.
what's going on in the United States. And they're like, look, I want somebody that's a little bit more family focused, a little bit more family oriented, and
Yes.
has a little bit more traditional views. And they don't necessarily have to be submissive to me. And then there's the folks like you who are like, you know what? I'm enjoying the culture as a whole. Like it's not even about like, like I came out here, explicitly to seek love. I came out here to enjoy many of my new, some new years. I don't know if you intend to be there forever, but I'm
Ever. Yes.
here. Okay,
Yes.
so you're looking to live out the rest of your days there and have an enjoyable life, enjoy the culture, intermingle with the people and find love, just kind of like what you did when you were back here in the United
I had
States.
girlfriends there. I'll have girlfriends here. To me, that's just part of it.
Right,
That's not the reason
right.
I moved here. As I said, the sinking ship one I read to you before, I
Mhm.
was like, yes, 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 that guy gets it. That's why I'm here. I had pad thai in a Thai restaurant in Mandarin 20 years ago. I said, this is a perfect dish. It's salty, it's sour, it's
Mhm.
sweet, it's crunchy with the peanuts, it's soft with the noodles, shrimp pad thai. And that became my favorite dish in America.
Right,
And that's Thai food. It just has a lot more flavor than a hamburger or a hot dog.
right,
It just is. And yeah, I will stay here the rest of my life. We lived in Jacksonville. We had St. Augustine in our backyard, an hour away. People would visit from all over the world. We could go there anytime we wanted. Well, people
right.
come from all over the world to come to Thailand. I live here. I live
Mhm.
in paradise.
Right.
So yeah,
All right. Well, I think that's going to conclude us, Greg. I do want to thank you for coming on so early. Just kidding,
sure.
uh,
Yeah,
folks.
no problem.
Just as a reminder, Greg is a friend of mine from here in Jacksonville. He moved to Thailand to just again live out the rest of his days in a new culture and experience something new. He's basically doing the same thing there that he did here, which was live his life, enjoy the world around him, and meet new people, including looking for a significant other. So that's what he's doing. He's definitely not an incel or any of the negative stereotypes. We do acknowledge that some of these stereotypes they are legitimate. So we're not disputing that these things never happen, but there's probably an overemphasis on the negative stuff and very lacking a very lacking emphasis on the positive areas. And maybe that's because you just got a lot of disgruntled feminists out there. That's the way it goes.
Absolutely. A little
Greg,
sour grapes, I think.
right,
Before I ever heard the term passport bro, there was two groups here: expats who live
right,
here and
right.
continue to live here, 2 million, and
Which have been
sexpats.
around for many years.
Right, and sexpats who come for sex, and they tell ladies are staying here, I want you to be my girlfriend forever, and they leave after 3 weeks or a
Right,
month. They come on vacation and they have sex and go back. So before passport bros, there was sexpats and expats, and
right.
there's always going to be people like that, but there's many
A new
more
name for the same
expats.
thing.
Right,
So,
right.
all right, Greg, hang backstage real quick while I close the show out. I'll
Sure.
join you in just a second here, folks. I hope that you enjoyed the show this morning. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to catch me every morning, Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for an informed discussion on politics and culture. And then again, join me on Sundays at 7 p.m. with my co host, Susan Hogarth, to discuss LP happenings. We go out and we find what's going on in the libertarian community from affiliates that are local and state. And we present them and we say, hey, here's what's going on in Alabama, in Montana, in California, Florida, so on and so forth. So we're discussing things as much as we can find within a tiny sliver of time. Be sure to do all the proper audience actions. Subscribe to my YouTube channel over at youtube.libertydad.com. Ring the bell, like videos, drop a word or two in the comment section. And if you want to follow me on social media, you can do that as well. Liberty Dad on Facebook, Liberty Dad Pod on Twitter, or go ahead and email me, libertydadpodcast@gmail.com. I would totally love to hear from you. Remember, if you're a champion of liberty, your business is people and your product is liberty. Have a great week. Catch you next time.